You're just blowing my mind. I mean, everything I've read in your book, your videos, your blogs, everything you're saying tonight just totally hits home to the core. And I'm noticing here, I'm not the only one. It seems everyone in the chat highly resonates with what you're saying. I think we should change the topic of the show to Days of Our Lives.
Well, that's because we've all met them
already. Yes.
We've all met them. Mm-hmm. All of us. We didn't know what they were, but we've all met them.
And even worse, we're all kind of being controlled by them, whether we want to admit it or not.
Yeah, we're lambs to the slaughter. We're there's these sharks, these wolves who prey amongst us, and we don't know what they are. And that's why I wrote this book, Puzzling People, so people would find out that these things are out there. They are looking for us, and if you haven't been targeted by one, you've been very lucky. But believe me, at some stage in your life, they will come looking for you. The demon will knock at your door.
I think it's highly suspect when people say they haven't been targeted by them. And, we talked earlier about, the so-called experts who write about them because of a study or because they read about them somewhere. I would tend to think they're writing about him because they know about him, because they are one, and that's why they say or want us to think they've never met one, because they're not so common. We're protecting you. We locked them all up in prison for you, right?
It could be. It could be also the reason why I would be more inclined to think the reason is they don't want ordinary people writing about this subject, because they know that ordinary people will start looking at politicians and corporate leaders, where an academic will keep his mouth shut to keep his tenure.
Absolutely. Well, Thomas, I want to talk about your 4 favorite letters, M, C, E, and A, but we have a couple callers on the line, so we will get to them first. Our first caller tonight looks like our friend Russ. Welcome to the show. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Christie, and I'm enjoying listening to you, Thomas.
Hi, Russ.
I'm curious, Thomas. I've personally been witness in my life at different times some of these behaviors you've described, and at the same time, I can't believe that I've been so blessed to have come in contact with so many of that 4%. So my question is, are there other reasons? Are there other issues or environmental conditions that can create humans or cause humans to act similarly but really aren't full-blown psychopaths?
Yeah. In my book, I call them proto-psychopaths. They're people who are not actually psychopaths, but for some reason or another, maybe they came from a really bad background, or maybe they were, they had a terrible experience in a war or something, or maybe they just had a really bad life. Or very commonly they were in a relationship with a psychopath, and the only way they could deal with the experience was to emulate them. But these people are still not psychopaths. There's still a good person in there, that if you got them alone and you could reform them, you could probably make them a good person again, and they would feel remorse, where a psychopath feels absolutely no remorse.
I think that the key part, I suppose, in just thinking about it, it would be that they have no inner life. And that was the first time that I've even contemplated the bigger picture of that in listening. And it didn't take, it kind of falls together in the bigger picture. But, I couldn't imagine somebody without an inner life.
No, it's almost impossible. As someone once described it to me in this term, and I thought it was very good. If you've taken LSD and you're explaining to a person who's never taken LSD what the experience is like, that's exactly what it's like to a normal person explaining to a psychopath what emotions are like. They do not know what emotions are like in terms of love and compassion and caring. It's a completely foreign concept to them, and that's how different they are.
I appreciate it. I'll go back to listening and let you go on. You had some things you want to talk about in the other callers. Thank you, Christie. Thank you, Thomas.
All right, Russ. Thanks so much. Okay, our next call tonight is area code 760. Welcome to the show.
Hi, this is Sean from San Diego.
Hi, Sean. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you guys doing?
Great, thank you.
Hi, Sean.
Well, yeah, you actually just kind of already answered my question, which I actually grew up with this guy, and he is basically the definition of a psycho, and or a psychopath. And but you answered it because I did grow up with him, so I saw his family life, and it was pretty bad. So I could see why he is the way he is today. And you did kind of give me some hope to where I would hopefully down the road be able to talk to him face to face and be like, hey, I'm kind of seeing this human wreckage you're leaving along your life, and it's kind of sad. And hopefully I can reform him, like you said.
Well, Sean,
that would
Sean,
work. Yeah.
Sean, I just want to say this here, and this is very important. If this person is a psychopath, you will never reform them. You will never reform them because they don't want to be reformed. If this person is somebody who's like a proto-psychopath, who's not really a psychopath, and their bad family made them that way, they could be reformed. Yes, they could, with love and care and compassion.
Right.
But you must be very careful, and I can't stress this enough. If this person, no matter how you care about him, no matter how much you care about him, or how bad his family background was, or indeed how good it was, if he's a psychopath, just go away, because I'm telling you right here and now, you will end up breaking your own heart and wasting your own life on somebody who doesn't care. So if you think he's
and
a
more
psychopath,
so that you will be in their wrecking path.
Yeah, and the thing about the bad background, well, psychopaths, I know psychopaths who were raised by beautiful, loving parents and came from wonderful homes. It didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Yeah, that was another one of my questions. Yeah, do psychopaths breed psychopaths, basically? Like,
it's the jury is still out. You're talking about like genetic aspects. Well, the jury is still out on that one, and there seems to be a genetic trait in some cases, especially if you have like families where you have a lot of psychopaths interbreeding, such as royalty. Like, if you had like exactly in say the Renaissance period in somewhere like Italy or France, you would have had these like very powerful families like the Medicis and the Dukes of Lorraine, and they would have specifically looked for other psychopathic families to marry into and have treaties and stuff. Yes, you would there, but I've known so many psychopaths who came out of families where the family had no history of anything like that, did not have an individual like that. And I've also seen perfectly normal people born to psychopathic parents. It's almost like you could have a family where there's no interest in music, and then one kid comes along who's an incredible musician, or a family that has no interest in, doesn't produce sports people, and then suddenly a child is born who's an incredible athlete. It seems to work on a similar dynamic. They can just show up anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, and I'm definitely going to have to pick up your book and read it thoroughly.
Absolutely. It really is. It's an excellent book, Sean. Really cuts to the core of things.
Well, thank you so much to the both of you, and both of you enjoy your night.
All right. Thanks so much for calling in.
You're welcome.
All right. You know what? You kind of touched on something before we move on to your favorite four letters. You said they don't want to be reformed. So can you describe some of the benefits from their perception of being a psychopath and not wanting to be reformed?
Freedom to do what you want in this life and not give a hoot, not be bothered by the consequences. Total and complete freedom. You get thrown out of an apartment, you've nowhere to live. What do? You find some guy and you marry him. You live with him for 6 months and then you leave him. You just married him because you wanted a place to live. You dump him after 6 months. You move on to someone else. Just not caring. Moving into a person's house, say an elderly person or a handicapped person, pretending to take care of them, living rent-free, just using them, moving on. They just don't care, and that to them is just beautiful. I'm free. Like I've actually been in conversations with psychopaths on email. They've contacted me by email, and they've all said the same thing. They just said it's just I feel so free. It's just wonderful. They like to be in control of everything. They like to see how they can manipulate things. Well, just think about it. If you didn't have any, if you had no conscience, just think of the freedom that grants you. Yeah. You can destroy you as